And we are live. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're joining us from. It's such a great honor and delight to have us join this awesome webinar. So I'm super excited because our guests are in the back end. And I'm so pumped up about the discussion we'll be having tonight. It's going to be a smooth ride. It's going to be awesome. So I hope that you're ready to gain massive value from our discussion tonight. So if you're ready, please type in the comment section that you're ready. We want to see that you're ready. You're ready and you're ready to enjoy this discussion with us. We're talking about AI. We're talking about a very, very controversial yet important topic. We want to know if kids should be introduced to AI early. You know, we've all seen that the world is advancing. We're seeing that that AI literally is taking the space, and many parents are concerned that is their children really left behind? Should they be introduced to AI early enough? Should they be introduced to technology, to the advancement that the age is bringing? Or should we hold it back a bit? Should we allow these children grow? Should we allow these children advance a bit before introducing AI to them? And this is the bone of contention we have to discuss tonight. And with me tonight, we have some really, really phenomenal personalities. You want to meet them. Great people, people I love and honor, and from the depth of my heart. And I'm going to be introducing them shortly. But before I introduce them, I need to know that you're all ready to receive them with me. So please, I need to see some fire in the comment section. I need to see, oh, Sarah is smiling. Guys, you need to put some fire in there so that we can have our guest right here. Okay, let's see the fire emoji. Are you ready to meet our speakers? Are you ready to meet our speakers? If I don't see fire emoji, we'll delay this discussion. So I'm so excited. This is really going to be a phenomenal time. Okay, I'm seeing some comments. I'm ready. Whoa, lots of people are ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. And I'm ready. Guys, come on. The world is here. We're really ready to receive our guests tonight. So I'm going to be reading their bio real quickly. I'll read their bio very quickly, and then we'll get to the discussion of tonight. So first off, we have a very, very dear friend, very dear and special to me. Um, Many people know her as a media personality, someone who has been creating waves, making waves in the digital space. Her name is Esther Ilesanmi. Esther is a media and communication professional with nearly a decade of experience helping brands grow their digital presence. She's a trained educationist and associate registered practitioner of advertising, that's ARPA, certified by the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria. She's the founder of Digitech Academy, a tech club created to bridge the digital divide among young learners. Esther has also worked with Tech for Dev as a digital literacy facilitator. She is passionate about creating digital opportunities for young people in line with SDG 4 and SDG 8. Through her work, she continues to inspire learning, impact, and make meaningful change. Please help me make welcome Esther Ilesanmi. Oh dear, Esther is off the back end. So I believe she'll join us real soon. Come on, guys, let's put the fire. I'm seeing a lot of fire. Okay, I hope we don't get burnt tonight anyway. So Esther will be with us shortly. I also have a dear friend, someone that's really, really dear to me from the depth of my heart. Really love her so much. Very phenomenal personality. You guys will judge for yourself tonight after listening to her speak. Her name is Sarah Yusuf. Sarah is a tech-forward learning and development strategist with a strong focus on digital transformation and AI-driven education. She leads L&D at ADRAP and is the founder of E-Academy by Kaizen. She also serves as an advisor at Kaizen Learning, the Learning Place Limited, where she designs scalable tech-enabled learning solutions for organizations like WHO, NCDC, and USAID. Aren't we lucky to have Sarah here tonight? Come on. With advanced degree from Grenoble Graduate School of Business and Cornell University, Sarah specializes in leveraging LMS platforms, digital data analysis, and AI tools to enhance learner engagement, personalized training, and build future-ready workforces across Africa. Please, let's make welcome Sarah Yusuf. Please, I need to see that fire emoji. Sarah is right here smiling. Hi, Sarah. So good to have you here
Hi,
tonight.
I'm here too. It's a
So good to
pleasure.
have you. Thank you. We also have Esther here. I read her bio earlier. Esther is back here. Esther, it's such a joy to have you here tonight as well. Thank you so
Thank you
much for,
so much.
yeah,
I'm so
it's
excited to
really,
be here too.
yeah, it's really a joy to have you both, really. So, who do I start with first? Esther, first off, what's really exciting about our discussion tonight? What excites you about this before we dive into our questions?
It's exciting because this is something I'm very passionate about. The digital divide, how that people are becoming enlightened about how tech is important, how digital literacy is important, and then involving kids, the next generation. This is really exciting because, of course, we should pay attention to them. And here we are having it.
Absolutely. Sarah, what's exciting about our discussion tonight?
What's exciting is that we're at another moment in history where we are defining the way we live, the way we learn, the way we walk. And, like so many other ages that have come, we have that unique opportunity to be a generation that witnessed the internet age. And we're now here also witnessing the age of artificial intelligence also starting. And it's nice to be in that position where you can actually define and determine what the next generation of learners across our continent, across our country, how they learn, what they learn, and to what extent they do. So for me, that excites me. It feels like we're sitting at the front of a ship and we have the opportunity to steer it in one direction or the other.
Direction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to start with Esther. Esther, we're talking about why, should kids leverage AI tools now, or is it too soon? But before we get into that conversation, we want to know, what does it actually mean for a child to leverage AI? So I want to get your perspective on this. You are a professional in tech. We want to know, what does it really mean for children to leverage AI?
Okay, thank you so much. So, in simple terms, it means for them to use it for their advantage. So, a child is learning to probably draw, and then in addition to the skill he already has, he leverages on artificial intelligence to provide a better output. A child wants to learn about fashion design, for instance, and then with what he or she already knows, he can now leverage on this artificial intelligence to give a better output. So it's them leveraging artificial intelligence to learn better, to create better, to provide better solutions. It's just like having something support your already existing learning journey, not outsourcing your entire thinking to it, but then adopting it as something that makes what you already have better, regardless of what it is that you do. So it's them adding towards there to make the output better.
This is really awesome, right? This is really awesome. Thank you so much, Esther. But then maybe I should move this to Sarah a bit. Sarah, do you think we should introduce AI tools? We're talking about AI, right? And we're seeing a lot of children really becoming dependent. I was speaking with my 6-year-old not quite long. We're trying to solve a reasoning question, and he looked at me and said, we should use Meta AI to solve the problem, right? Literally, and he's just 6, right? He's 6. I was stunned to know that a 6-year-old really has an idea about what AI is and the tool. So, do you think we are introducing AI? Are we to introduce AI now as a tool or as a crunch to these kids? Do you think we should introduce AI to them as a tool to leverage on, or as a crutch really to totally depend on?
I don't think there's any scenario where AI replaces humans totally. Like Esther rightly said, it's a leverage. And I do believe that yes, we should get our kids involved in AI as soon as possible. Not because it's cool or is a fad, but it's because that's the generation they will grow up in. They are the people who would have to use it. It's the world they will grow up in, for efficiency, for effectiveness, for relevance. So the sooner we get them involved in AI, whether it's through gamification or through outrightly teaching them the codes and the scripts, or introducing them to large language models and helping them use it to solve simple everyday tasks, it is something we should do for our kids. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. But then, if you notice, Sarah, I'm still on you. If you notice, many parents are raising concerns, and I would like to get your perspective as well as Esther's on some of these concerns that parents are having as it relates to using AI tools. Parents are concerned, right? Children are literally getting overly dependent on AI tools, right? They are really getting dependent on these tools. So before we begin to look at the benefits of these things, what are some of the concerns you think parents are facing with these tools? The worries parents have. What do you think we should be concerned about?
In my personal opinion, I think that a lot of the concerns parents are having is coming from the fact that this is the unfamiliar. One of the things that I keep remembering, I studied English literature in my undergraduate. And I remember then when we were in class, the lecturers would always tell us how you guys are so lazy. When we were in school, we had to learn all of the poems. We knew how to recite everything Shakespeare wrote. We had to read the books from scratch. And you all are here, you just Google, copy and paste. And it seemed like, they kept saying it as, oh, you're not as sound as us, you're not as solid as us. The educational level is dropping because of the internet. And several years down the line, nobody would make that statement anymore. Nobody needs
Mm,
you to learn a whole poem. Nobody needs you to cram a whole book. Nobody,
mhm,
it doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, if you operate that way, then you're obsolete and you'll be less effective and less efficient in the generation that we have. So when I give you a research, I don't expect you to get all of your data sieving through encyclopedias in the media. I expect you to
mhm,
leverage online resources. I expect you to check the journals online. I expect you to, check some YouTube video or something. I don't expect you to go to the library and spend weeks getting something that I can get in a few hours. So I feel like that is what we are currently seeing with AI. So parents feel like, oh, my child is not doing as much. I feel like AI is replacing the way they think. AI, they've outsourced their thinking to AI. They've
mhm, mhm.
outsourced the skills that we grew up having, knowing how to
Yeah.
research things, how to, mathematics, simple things like mathematics. Kids are now asking AI to make the calculations and give them the answer. And it's really the new thing. So parents are a bit concerned that, oh, I hope my child is not going to underperform. But one thing I would say is that think about the world your child will grow up in. Will AI be
Mhm,
them underperforming or them being effective and efficient in the world they would grow up in? So don't think about
mhm,
it in the world you grew up in. Think about the one they will grow up in and what is the reality and what is attainable for them in their generation. The same way the generation before us, the internet was not so much of a reality. But then we
yeah.
came and we had to use it in the university. We had to use it to study. A classic example was during the time I was in the university writing my project, we were typing our project ourselves. But when I talk to my parents, they talk of taking it, after writing it with paper and biro, they take it to a typing pool and give them, and then they do it for them. That was not a reality for me. So if they had said, oh, you didn't
Mm,
have to learn to type because you can just take it to a typing pool, that service was not available in my generation. So think about your children in the world they would
mm.
grow up in, not in the world you would grow up in, or not in the world you grew up in, basically. Thank you.
Uh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm still going to come back to you. I remember we were speaking backstage, and there are some tables we'll still shake later. So I'll still come back to you on this discussion and what you're saying. But then let me hear from Esther. Esther, what should we be concerned about leveraging AI? What should we be concerned about?
Okay, so there are several concerns, and one of them is data privacy. In leveraging AI now, you know that kids are exposed to this, especially for some of them who are not properly guided. They provide information to these artificial intelligence platforms, and then this information they provide, this data provided, can be compromised. I remember watching a speech, and in that speech, they were talking about a girl whose parents had exposed her pictures, had exposed clips of her on the internet space. That single image, those clips were picked and manipulated to commit a crime which she was accused of. So you see that as a result of the data we are feeding these platforms, it can be compromised. The picture, the voices, and whatever information that the children are giving these artificial intelligence platforms can be used for purposes that may not really be what was intended for. That's one. Secondly, there's the risk of the children being dependent, like you mentioned earlier, and like Sarah rightly talked about. You notice that people just want to outsource their intelligence to the artificial intelligence platform instead of it complementing what they
Oh,
already
dear.
know. So we have two cases. A person who was given an assignment, the person brainstormed the assignment and then gave this feedback to AI to produce a better output, and it gave him or her a better result. And then we have another person who did not even think at all. The person just put in the assignment question, copied and paste, plagiarism. Now there's that part where people are relying on AI, and then it's affecting their output, it's affecting their creativity, it's affecting their problem solving ability. And that's not where we want our children to be. We want to ensure that as much as they're leveraging on it, they're still able to think for themselves. They're still able to make significant inputs to this artificial intelligence without necessarily depending wholly on it. So there's that fear of their data being compromised. There's also the fear of depending fully on it. And then there's also the fear of wrong information. You know that because people have always been putting in questions, and especially children that are not usually guided on the right way to use these platforms, they assume every information that is provided by the artificial intelligence platform is right, and then they take it hook, line, and sinker. No, there are a lot of information that are not correct. So instead of parents to see the negative aspect of it, I would say they should check what the children are doing. They should be there. Children are should be encouraged to use it, but then in a controlled manner, right? It shouldn't just be go use it for your assignment. You should also be involved to check what it is producing for them. Is what is producing correct? Is the information going to help them become better? Can they defend what is coming out of this platform? Because that's it. If they're not able to defend it, then there's a red flag, right? I also read of a story where a guy was having an interaction with with an AI platform, which he assumed to be his lover. And as a result of that conversation, the AI, the person who was the bot he was chatting with, told him to commit suicide and come and meet it. Right? That's the lover. Now, because this boy was all alone trying to interact with this AI platform by himself, he ended up committing suicide. And that's a negative use of what should be a valuable platform to people. So there's that fear of the kind of information that is coming out. Truth is, most of these platforms were not designed for just children alone. They weren't designed as children specific platforms. There are platforms that are basically for children, but for adults. But majority of them are for adults. So imagine the kind of information they are consuming. If it is not controlled, it will do more harm than good for those children who are consuming it. So this, among many other concerns, are what parents are really careful about. And I feel like by guiding them, educating them, giving them a proper orientation, and also leaving the path. You know, children learn by watching what you do. If you're someone who Googles everything, they come to ask you questions and you can't even answer for yourself, you have to Google everything. They are watching you. and then they replicate exactly what you're doing. So you show them that they don't have to depend on this platform for everything. One. Secondly, not every information this platform provides is correct. They should have their brain, they should think and be able to determine what is right and what is not. Then they should understand that these platforms were meant to complement them, not completely replace their thinking capacity. I think we've lost Uncle Johnson at this point. So,
Yeah.
Visera, do you want to contribute to this as well?
Yeah, I agree with I think a lot of what you've said, and I know that recently the conversation around deepfake, has been very intense, and
Yeah.
people are now wondering how are we going to navigate this as a people? How are we going to ensure ethical and considerate use of AI, and also to ensure that humanity is not regressing because we are now all relying on the same artificial intelligence. That's definitely a big conversation, and I agree with pretty much everything you've said. But I think that it's the same conversation as when the internet first came.
Yes.
So the first, it's the same conversation, which is why it's interesting because, like I say, we were the generation that were quite aware when the internet was introduced, and we grew up, learning with it, going to school with it, having to use it, relying on it while in the university, and the conversations are the same. So the concerns we had with the internet at the time, and how we've been able to build humanity in a way that we completely actually depend on the internet right now is the same
Yeah.
conversation we are having with AI. And I keep insisting that the truth is it's new. And so definitely for something that is new, there would be a lot of glitches, a lot of abuse, a lot of concerns will be seen, a lot of errors will come up. But as this AI technologies keep evolving and growing, they would keep getting refined and getting tuned. And like you rightly said, the ethical and considerate use of the platform is what we should be teaching our children. And already we can see that in the development of AI and large language models, there are already children specific tools. And I think that is what you should be giving your children. So I really don't expect your child to be using Gemini AI alone or using ChatGPT alone. But I think
Yeah.
your child can play Roblox, right?
Yeah.
I think your
Yeah.
child can do that. I think your child can use Scratch. I think your
Yeah.
child can use a child specific AI model. Because more importantly, think about the world they would grow up in. The world they will grow up in is one that will be defined by the use of artificial intelligence. And it takes a different type of intelligence to know how to train and prompt AI to give you the results that you need. So we would now have to redefine education, and redefining education in a way that we are now teaching our children how to ask questions, how to train a model with their thought patterns, with the way they think and the way they express themselves, which means they need to discover and know these things. Because I see a future very soon where people will actually have, like, I'm talking of normal people, not techie people,
Yeah.
not academia, people would have bots that are designed to help them, bots that
Yeah.
talk like them, bots that think like them, and bots that evolve like them. I would want my child to be able to do that also for themselves, because if they are having to compete the way we train them now with people who have this, then they would fall way short of expectation. And the same way we are very
Absolutely.
unkind to people who don't know how to use the internet is exactly what we'll do to them when that time comes.
Yes. Just in addition to what you've said, even though we don't like guide them ethically, they will still find it in schools. They will still find it in
Yeah.
platforms that we didn't even
Mm-hmm.
expect that they would encounter.
Mm-hmm.
They will meet this at
Mm-hmm.
interviews. Before we
Mm-hmm.
had issues, so people had issues with being computer literate, but you notice
Yeah.
that now, Jam, you would have to use computers to answer
Nobody's
them.
even asking if you've seen a computer before. You're
Yes,
expected
but
to
right
use it.
now,
Yeah.
interviews and several forms of communication would be
Mhm.
AI centered. So this is something that, regardless of the fear, we still have to ensure that there's ethical use of it, and children need the right orientation to know the right thing to do and the right way to use it. Thank you for what you said.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, the Nigerian system kicked me out. So it's really beautiful. We're talking about the ethical use of AI, right? Um, but then just I was gonna come back to Sarah on a discussion about what she was saying earlier. You were mentioning something about the fact that we still to use these tools, whether you permit them or not. Should we be concerned about these tools will begin to affect the critical thinking of these children? Because you begin to children who do not think for themselves, right? Maybe over leveraging, over depending on these AI tools rather than doing certain things for themselves. Should we be concerned about over dependence?
So I think overdependence of any sort is a problem. Overdependence of your on your teacher in school is a problem for your child. Overdependence on an instructional manual is a problem. The same way overdependence on AI is also a problem. So I think overdependence on its own is one conversation. The AI aspect of it is another conversation. And okay, just a question, right? And unfortunately, I don't know if I can see what the people in the comment section are saying. Do you consider yourself over dependent on the internet? Is anybody here over dependent on the internet? If we don't have internet for 1 week, what will your life look like? Okay, one day, what will your life look like? If you lose the internet for one
I don't want to
hour,
think about it.
what does your life look like? What does your life look like
I
if
don't
you
want
lose?
to think about it.
So we are over
Please,
dependent,
I want to see
right?
that feedback.
No,
Yeah.
you are over dependent on it. The foundation of our civilization is the internet. And so, like I said earlier, the foundation of the generation your children will grow up in is artificial intelligence. And what you should be teaching them is not whether or not, see, whether or not they should use it is settled. They should use it. What you should be teaching them is how to use it. So when when this current age of the internet age came into mainstream, one of the things we were being taught was how to search the internet, how not to search the internet, how to use the internet. There were a lot of issues with copy and paste because people now felt, especially in academia, children were not researching anymore. But now we've grown to a stage where we have taught people how to research using the internet and research ethically using the internet. So I feel that is what we should be thinking about our children. Whether or not they would be over dependent on AI is a given. Your child will be over dependent on AI. But I don't see that as a disadvantage because the foundation of their civilization will be built on AI. And AI has just started. AI is actually scary. If you research the way the world will look at the current trend we're going in 10 years, even us could become obsolete if we continue at the stage at which we're going. People are literally building chatbots that are a version of themselves. You ask the chatbot a question, and the chatbot goes through everything Sarah has done, said, uploaded, and can give you an answer that is more often than not correct. If you were to call Sarah on phone, she would say the exact same thing. So the world your children are going to grow up in is the very foundation of their civilization will be built on artificial intelligence, and over dependence will actually happen. There was a time where humanity did not have fire, but now we have fire and we've been over dependent on fire. I mean, imagine if we lose fire, we can't cook, there's no way to light up the world. There was a time humanity didn't have electricity, but today we can't imagine life without it. So there's a time we didn't have AI, but a time would come where humanity cannot imagine not having AI. And the whole conversation of artificial intelligence even started before the AI age. Initially, we were talking of big data, and big data started in a conversation that just had to do with marketing. But today, we are now talking about artificial intelligence, the same large language model. And we are now building, I mean, that I can design a website without even having the skills, that I can code without even knowing how to code. That is what artificial intelligence is doing. So, what we have to do is that we need to teach our children how to live in a world where artificial intelligence is being used to complement their skills and their efforts. We shouldn't be teaching them how to live like we did. We should be preparing them for the generation they will have to grow up in. So if we think, oh, you're going to be over dependent on it, what now happens when they are having to function in an organization that is 100% AI driven? and only few people are needed to make sure that AI is, just to put the human factor of checks and balance. How does your child cope? How does your child compete with a child who can easily build a chatbot to help them, with their routine taxes and routine learnings that they do already? How does your child compete with that person? How does your child compete with someone who would do what they spend an hour doing in 5 minutes? Because it's the world they will grow up in. So let's just understand that the world our kids are going to grow up in is not the world we grew up in. Their world is different. So train them for their generation. And AI is a reality in their generation in a much larger and much more intense way than we see it currently. And like I said, the bigger conversation on this is humanity starting to try to not think anymore. Are we now training? I remember when Chat GPT first came out, everything you did on Chat GPT was a web search, right? So it will show you it is
Yeah.
searching the web. Now, when you go on
Yeah.
Chat GPT, there's a place called reasoning. So they are
Reasoning.
training it. Yes, it's called reasoning. They're training it to think. So
Yeah, I
basically,
saw
that
that.
means we are not going to be going to just one source to bring the information. We'll be searching the web and arriving at
You're going to
conclusions.
very.
And yeah, and today I was telling
Mhm.
my assistant that ChatGPT has started talking to me the way she does. So if I ask it a question, maybe I'm like, should kids leverage AI? It now goes on and tells me everything and says, do you want me to put it in a slide or in a presentation? And I'm like, that sounds like my
Yeah.
assistant. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's starting to grow to complement your lifestyle, because we are feeding in all
Yeah.
of this information, and whether we like it or not, it's the way the
Mhm.
world is becoming. So embrace it early.
Okay, we're going to embrace it, but then you and I we have some serious discussion. So I was thinking before I came here tonight. So I was thinking before I came here tonight, we were having some conversations sometime back, maybe sometime last month, I believe, and
Mhm,
then we're looking at children. I don't know if you can still remember children who were raised in eco-conscious environment, and
mhm,
then I would want you to juxtapose that now. Those children raised in eco-conscious environment in nature. I believe you can still relate with that
mhm.
discussion now. Now, I want you to juxtapose those children with the children we are raising now and in this generation. What would you have to say about their level of thinking, their level of behavior, and maybe their overall growth and development?
This is a very interesting conversation because we are seeing a very, very um I think I'll call it phenomenal increase in the way that we were diagnosing children with ADHD and autism, placing them on the spectrum, Asperger's and all of that. And a lot of research
Yeah,
has said is because we put our kids in front of the screen too
screens.
early. I was reading
Mhm.
a journal article recently that said children didn't even have the capacity for the complex algorithms that we give them until they are about 11 or 12 years old. That is when their brains fully mature. And that led me to thinking about something. Sorry, I'm smiling. Thinking about something. If everybody has autism, isn't the one without autism now abnormal? Just a thought.
Okay.
Just a thought. That if, because one thing with autism that we fail to not say, and even ADHD, and to a great level Asperger's, which are the more common diagnoses that we are seeing these days, is that they are
Mhm.
underlined by high performance,
Mhm.
right? High
Mhm.
performance,
Mhm.
antisocial behavior. Basically, that's
Yeah.
that's I think a common trend.
Yeah.
And it's funny that whenever you study the most successful people who grew out of the internet age, so whether it's the Elon Musk of the world or the Bill Gates of the world, or even the generations before them who didn't have the internet but did anything super phenomenal, somehow they are always on the spectrum. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm not sure what we're missing here, but looks like the generation that we are raising, maybe someday we would wake up and realize that it's not abnormal.
They are all
This this is my thinking.
just if that.
There's no research for this. I mean, some scholars agree with me that a time will come where, you know, high performance antisocial behavior will be a norm. I mean, we're seeing it with remote working. People are living their lives and not even having any sort of human interaction, but are operating at an all-time high efficiency and effectiveness level. So that is something that we are starting to see. And so we should prepare for a world that will exist that way. It's like the game Roblox. I don't know if any of us is aware with it. You know, it's a game that was built on the metaverse. So basically, when you are in Roblox, you are in an alternate reality, or sometimes an extended reality, which means you have a whole life in the metaverse, a house, a car. You probably are in school there. You have friends on the metaverse who are real people in real life. You haven't met them in real life, but they exist actually on the metaverse. And one of the things that we're starting to see with Roblox is that children who were introduced to playing the game of Roblox early in life are doing very well with coding, with cognitive reasoning, with problem solving. As a matter of fact, are doing very well with even street intelligence. Because in the space of the internet, they are able to simulate a reality that probably they don't have the opportunity to do. So, what I'm saying is that whether we like it or not, and I come back to whether we like it or not, our generation is going to see something with our children is either we are going to all drop this technology thing and go back to the fields, go back to homesteading, go back to raising children in nature, realizing that, look, things are getting a bit too complicated, or we are going to leave that and fully lean into the age of artificial intelligence, robotics, and everything that comes with it. And what I'm starting to see is that there's a very sharp divide. So a research was saying that Gen Z parents will probably have a completely different worldview as to how to raise children, and it will be two extremes. So some will rather say, you know what, our kids are not even going to have a mainstream education. We're going to raise them the way our forefathers did with their children. Buy a farm, buy some chickens and some goats, and raise your children there. And some would, you know, just let the children go with the age. If it is the age of AI, I mean, by all means, get involved, do what you will. So I don't think I would say what is good or bad. I just think the world is changing and humans are changing. And one of the things I want us to think about is, if I take you and place you in 1,000 years ago, would you be normal or abnormal? If I place you 1,000 years back, would you be normal or abnormal? You will absolutely be locked up in a room somewhere and be absolutely abnormal. The way the people would view you is like, oh, he really has the worst mental case we have ever seen. But it's not that, it's humanity evolving. So in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, only God knows what humanity would look like. But again, one thing I have seen and I've come across more consistently in the research is that a lot of students, and these are children in K-12, right, which are secondary school, nursery, primary, they've spoken about going through anxiety because of the speed at which AI is evolving. So pretty much before they grasp one concept, 10 other concepts are there. Before they're done grasping that, there's like 100 others coming. So it feels like it's this constant battle to catch up, constant battle to understand what's happening in the world around you. And that's why I said that probably high performance is about to become the new normal that we would be seeing. Children who will be less social but be very highly effective, high performance, yet recluse and isolated. That's probably the world we're going into. And if your child is the social bee, then there will be a diagnosis for them.
It's okay. Thank you for that, Sarah. Thank you for that, Sarah. Let me zoom in on Esther a bit. Esther, we're talking about critical thinking just before you went off, right? Let me just throw this to you, right? How does AI affect other foundational skills like writing, problem solving, and critical thinking from your own perspective? We already looked some of the things that children will begin to do, like coding and solving problem using AI tools, right? So how does AI, help these children in doing this, or should I say, affect these thought patterns that they have? So, which side you'll be coming from to attack this question? Is it really making these children lazy, or is it going to help them to advance in writing, in critical thinking, in coding, in solving problems, or is it totally making them lazy and all that? What would you have to say about this?
Thank you so much. And first of all, apologies, I had to um, be off because of my network. So, regarding how AI helps develop some of these skills, like you've said, Sarah said something that I want to major on. The ethical use of AI would help any child get better. So, I'm going to give you two instances again. A teacher gives a child an assignment and says, create something that is related to Nigeria. This child thinks about a concept and this child puts it on AI, creates whatever she has in mind, puts it on AI to help improve her writing. That way, she has become better. The output she's getting would make her better. Now, there's somebody who is not thinking, but just depending solely on what AI is doing. He just takes the assignment, puts it directly on AI, and goes to submit it that way. That person is not leveraging it the right way. And doing this consistently can make the person become dependent, like you said. The person will not think, the person will not improve, and the person would always want to get a quick fix, quick output from AI. But then, if it is used ethically, they understand that whatsoever they have, AI can help them improve better on it. They would improve in their writing, they will improve in their thinking, and they would improve in their problem solving skill. And I'll give an example of when we started. When we started, our parents had fears of we being exposed to computers and the dangers involved in it. And so they had to withhold some information, withhold access to it. I remember back then growing up, we used to play games on the computer. And each time we sight our dad, we put it off and run away because he feels like the game is making us dumb. The game will make us to be
Yeah.
unserious with school. But in this AI age, there are certain games, there are certain platforms that can help them to even think smarter. Scratch that she mentioned, roadblocks like she mentioned, those are activities, those are exercises that are geared or wired towards challenging children to think critically, think creatively. So there are some of these activities that the child will engage in, especially when you're introducing them to what you've already vetted over time and seeing that this particular platform helps to do XYZ. Not every platform might be applicable to every child, but when you notice the curiosity in the child, you notice where the child is heading towards. Maybe if the person is interested in being creative, drawing, you know the particular app, you know the particular platform to refer him or her to. That way, the skill will become better. Now with AI, you see that you can sketch for, let's assume, a fashion designer. You can
Mm-hmm.
sketch clothes. It can help you create something you're just imagining. That's helping the child to create, to think better and create better outputs. But for someone who doesn't even have an idea how to use this ethically, there's a problem because that person would not get the best. That person can be misled, and that person will just accept whatever the AI platform gives him or her. But then, when you understand that for every problem you have, for every challenge you are having, there's already a solution that somebody has already designed to help you solve it, and you engaging in it ethically would make you smarter. I think that helps the child thinks better. That helps the child approach AI from a different perspective, not from the lazy platform, from the lazy standpoint where he or she is just solely depending on getting whatever the platform gives to him or her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it helps if you use it rightly, it will help you develop your skill. But if you don't use it rightly, then it will give you another outcome that you're not expecting to get.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want us to begin to see how we can start drawing the curtains. I want us to talk to our parents now. What? Let me come to you, Sarah. We want to, from our discussion so far, we've seen that children who do not leverage AI, there's going to be a wide divide between children who leverage AI tools and children who
Mm-hmm.
do not. We can see from the trajectory and where we are moving towards that many children may. I was even having a conversation with a child just yesterday. I had a session with the child. And I was speaking to him, and we got talking for some time. And I asked him a simple question: what would you want to be when you grow up? I usually have these conversations with my young learners, and he told me that he wants to be a robotics engineer. And I was curious, like, this is not something a regular child would say. And I asked
Mhm.
him, why would you want to do this? And he said that from his study, he's seen that anybody that is doing any other job will easily be replaced, and he doesn't want to be replaced. Like, it was quite a succinct, he literally just went straight to the point to say this is exactly the reason he wants to be able to design tools that would work. He literally explained that in the coming age, literally, that we're just going to have robots doing most of the work, and he wants to be at the top of the game, leveraging those tools. So we can see already that there's going to be a wide divide with children who leverage AI and children who don't. But then
Mhm.
parents are struggling to adopt. Parents are struggling to transition using these tools. So I want to start with Sarah, right? What role do you think parents should play in guiding their children, right, in using these tools and leveraging and then being a guide to the children as well? How should parents come in? How should parents manage these tools that children will be able to use the tools ethically? What advice basically do you have for parents?
Okay, thank you. So, parents, the world your child is growing up in is going to be significantly different from what you know. The way we learn and how we learn, and the way we even teach and how people receive information is changing significantly at a very, very fast pace. So, one thing I want parents to understand is that AI would not replace humans, but humans who can use AI will replace humans who cannot.
Absolutely.
It's
Hmm.
AI is
Hmm.
not coming here. It's not going to replace people,
Absolutely.
but people who know how to use it will replace the people who cannot use it. So what you need to do for your child is ensure that they can. And it breaks my heart to say this, right? But do you know that the reason why education in Africa as a continent keeps falling below the acceptable index is because we are the last to accept any new innovation and invention. So basically, we keep saying no. The rest of the world accepts it and begins to run with it, and then we start struggling to catch up. We are currently in a continent where there are still hard to reach areas when it comes to something as simple as network connectivity. Yet, for us in our country, where there are children who have never seen a computer, they are all expected to write the JAMB exam using a computer. What does that tell us? That whether you like it or not, it's going to catch up with you. It's going to catch up with your child. So, what you need to do is make your child ready enough to function in the world that they have to live in, and understand that you do not have a choice as to whether or not they would have to use it, or whether or not they will adopt it, or even to a reasonable extent how much impact it will have on their lives. So my advice to parents is you need to be at the top of your game. You need to research. You need to understand that the skills that the world your child is growing up in would need is not the same skill that we have currently. We are seeing a large shift in even academic pursuits, so degrees are slowly being eroded. So if you're not trying to become a researcher or lecturer, it may be very unnecessary to even go to the university very, very soon. Your kids will need to learn skills, actual skills that they know exactly what they want to do. So than hiring someone who has a degree in computer science, I'll probably be looking for someone who is a cybersecurity specialist, or who is a ethical hacker, or who is, a data analyst, or who is one of all of these things. So we need to understand that our children are growing up in a world that is significantly different. And for parents, instead of being afraid, be equipped and be ready. So don't let fear rule how you raise your children. Don't say, there was a time where we would say things like, oh, this phone you're using now, take your phone away from you for 1 hour, except you are asleep. Your life would significantly be impacted. So whether we like it or not, we should understand that it is normal to be afraid of what you don't know, but don't rule from fear. Rule from readiness, from preparedness, and equip yourself. So parents cannot afford to be laser fair. Parents need to research, parents need to read, parents need to get an education on, what sort of AI models can I expose my kids to. Instead of saying that I don't want my child to view a screen, why don't I make the times they view a screen a time that a skill that is defined is being developed? So if my child is
Mm.
gaining cognitive abilities in certain areas, I have a game plan for it and I know exactly what they're doing at that time. And the problem with that, the problem of us is that we decide very early to villainize something. And then when it is too late, the burden is now on our children to catch up. One of the things that breaks my heart, because I build learning solutions online and I build it for people in the workforce, which means I'm building it for adults. I don't train children very much. I deal with adults mostly. Is that we have people who still do not know how to operate a computer in the 21st century. How did that happen? Where were we? Where was the educational system when we allowed this to happen? We have people who are afraid of a computer, and I don't mean afraid in terms of maybe they are just shying away from it. No, they really are. Like you're like online course and they're like, ah, no, 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 if it's computer I'm not doing it. And I'm like, how? How did we get here? And if we keep telling our children to shy away from the things that we do not understand, that is exactly what they would face when they are adults. They would talk with children in Estonia, for example, is a small country in Europe, and Estonia has already included AI into its school curriculum. China is doing the same thing. Finland is doing the same thing. The UK is starting to do the same thing. America is fast catching up into their primary school curriculum. Their children will begin to use AI to understand
I think we lost Sarah there. Esther, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Okay, I think we lost her there. A bit, she's frozen.
Okay.
Hopefully, she'll join back up and finish up her statement. But then Esther, while we get her back on board, I would like to I would like to ask you the same question. What advice do you have for parents as we begin to tie up the knots? What should parents do? How should they protect their children? And how should they stay ahead of the game at the same time?
Okay, so I'm going to say this, and as trivial as it looks, it's going to be a game changer for any parents. Be a present
Yeah.
parent. I know that not so many parents are quite techy. I used to have issues with some parents when I'm teaching their kids, and they're still struggling with WhatsApp and WhatsApp groups. They're still struggling with a lot of
Okay.
things that they consider complex. And then you're telling them about AI, you're telling them about robotics and stuff, and they're looking at you as though they are lost, right? We want to encourage parents to be present by asking their kids the right questions. Okay, this thing that you want to learn, could you walk me through the benefits you stand to gain when you partake in this? When you use this app, what do you learn? What are the what's privacy concerns? Are there issues? Are there any concerns that are related to these platforms you're using? What do you stand to gain? For parents that are not very techy, you can also encourage your children to join clubs that would help them build their skills in this area. For instance, coding clubs. You can encourage them to be part of competitions that challenges them to think like their colleagues or their mates are thinking. So besides you knowing all the tech tools and being techy, ensure that you're present. Your children can see you as a safe haven. They can come to you and tell you, this is what I want to learn, and then you're there to encourage them and not kill their passion. Some parents, because they don't understand what their children are talking about, they tend to even kill the passion before it is formed. But children are very curious, and if they don't learn from you, they will learn it the wrong way somewhere else. So ensure to be
Mhm.
present, ask the right questions, and also encourage them to join clubs or groups that will help spark their creativity, help them become better in whatever it is that they want to learn.
Amazing. Thank you. Sorry, Sarah, we lost you when you were speaking. I don't know. Do you still have something to add to that, or we just quickly take one more question and then we wrap up? Meanwhile, if you're here and you're still listening to us, you have a question or something you want to ask any of our panelists, you can just type it there in the comment section. I'll be looking at the comments and make sure to bring it here so that we can talk about it quickly before we. So Sarah, I don't know, were you done with your thoughts, or you would like to wrap up what you're saying?
Yeah, I think pretty much that was the summation that skills are changing. So instead of holding on to the skills that we know, we should be preparing our children to know how to think, to know how to ask questions, to know how to identify a problem and how to build a plan to solve the problem. So the nitty-gritty, like, you know, going to learn something from scratch may not be as necessary as knowing how to identify that you need that thing. So those
Mm,
are
mm,
basically the skills we should now be thinking of. How do you, so like
mm,
Esther was giving an example of the essays, right? One child does their research and uploads the essay and they get a good clean script, and another child just types. But again, the challenge with that is if I read a script that is simply developed by ChatGPT and I read another with someone who knows how to
Yeah.
prompt ChatGPT, I may
ex-
not actually be able to identify that
Yes.
one
yeah,
was written with ChatGPT, and not because they did anything, but that child has a valuable skill, which is knowing how to ask the right questions and knowing how to
questions.
build from one question to another. So that is research will begin to look like knowing how to ask the right questions, knowing how to identify a
Mm.
problem, and knowing how to even think of what a solution could to this problem could be, and then asking an AI to provide that solution you've identified. So yes, new skills, new thoughts, new developments. That's what we should be looking forward to.
Excellent. So last question. I don't feel like letting you guys go. This is really beautiful. I feel like we should be in a closed room having this conversation all day. But then just so we can tie the knots, now we've been able to tell our audience and our parents that the world is fast changing, the world is moving, and we do not want our children to be left behind. We also understand the concerns that parents are raising. So we've addressed all of this by talking about the ethical use of these tools, and also letting the children to know boundaries, what to do, how to use these tools, and what to leverage on, so they can also be future ready. But then, if I would ask one last question, and I would like, maybe I'll start with Esther, is how do we now help our children? We want children not to be consumers of AI products, right? We do not want our children to constantly consume these products, but to also be creators, right? I feel like the edge our children will have will be that they are able to be creators and not consumers. If they are not overly looking for what tool to use, the apps you're using was designed by someone, the tool you're using was designed by someone. And I feel like those people who are designing these tools, those people who are creators, have the edge. So how do we get our children to be at the forefront of this game, to be creators rather than consumers? So I'll have both of us answer the question. Let's start with Esther.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll start with there should be a proper orientation of what artificial intelligence even has to offer. Some people just restrict artificial intelligence to just prompting, asking questions, and answering, but there is more. And I'll give an example. There's a story of a girl I stumbled on. She's in a slum in Lagos. Her name is Sharon, if I'm not mistaken. Sharon was taught how to use coding to solve problems in her community. She's in a community that is waterlogged. She's in a slum, obviously, and her parents, all they do to fend for the family was to sell fishes. And so, in teaching her that you can use tech skills to solve your problem, she was able to create a solution that helps her parents' fish business, right? So she didn't just learn a tech skill, she learned a tech skill with a problem solving orientation. So what she created
Mm,
solved a problem. So an orientation first has to happen. Children should understand that beyond what you're using AI for at this moment, there is more. And they should begin to look at their immediate solution. Most of these AI platforms are created for foreigners, for instance, and then you'll notice that there are not so many of them that are tackling Nigeria's problem. There are not so many AI platforms that are speaking pidgin and maybe communicating to us in a way that is relatable to the common Nigerian child. This is a gap. And when the child is thinking from this perspective, this child will know that it's not just solution for foreigners, but then their solution he or she can create that can solve the immediate challenges that have been faced in the local community, as little as helping to create a system that helps to automate sales for their parents' business, or creating something that helps to check something in their class. Help them to think from a problem solving standpoint and introduce them to platforms that can help them create that. That's one. When they have that orientation, their approach to using these AI tools will change. Secondly, introduce them to certain activities that challenges their creativity. When I was speaking previously, I was talking about clubs that they can join, coding clubs, hackathon, and several other competitions. These competitions are wired to bring out the creativity in these children, to help them see beyond what they're just using the everyday tools for, but to see that in these tools that they are creating, there are problems that can be solved. So they look at a problem. How then do I apply this skill to solve this problem? In knowing that there is a problem and this particular platform can help us solve the problem, they become more productive, they become more creative, they know
Mhm.
that we're in a competitive world and my solution will give
Mhm.
me an edge. They begin to
Yeah.
think differently. So it first starts with a mindset reshaping. They understand that this is beyond what I'm doing now, is beyond just prompting. There is a bigger plan, there's a bigger game, there's a bigger picture that AI can help me problem bigger picture that AI can help me solve. There's a bigger problem AI can help me solve. Just knowing that
Mm.
alone will help them
Mhm.
think from a problem solving standpoint, even when approaching this platform or these tools. So challenge them,
Mm.
encourage them, introduce them to this platform, and also let them teach you what they are learning. Right? If it's
Mhm.
just them doing it themselves, you're not involved in. I'm referring to the
Mhm.
parents now, the guardians. You're not involved in the process. It's just being passive, it's you isolating them. But when you begin to let them know that even those little things they're learning, in trying to communicate it to you, is something you value, they'll begin to think of creative ways to do things that would communicate that they're doing better, that they're learning better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a reorientation, encouraging them, introducing them to platforms and skills, competitive communities that will help them build their skills. I think that's really key.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Esther. Let's get the word from Sarah too. We want to raise creators and not consumers. What do you have to say, Sarah?
I couldn't have put it better than Esther did, and I think she nailed every single point. So I will not be repeating what she has said because it's absolutely spot on correct. I would just be telling our parents this, right? To raise a creator and an innovator, you cannot be raising a normal child. The people who change history, who build anything of relevance, are not people that they are historically called madmen. So raise
Mhm.
mad children. Basically, what you need to do is put AI in the hands of your kids early. Put it often, put it responsibly, and give them the opportunities that they need. Invest in those opportunities. Sign them up for summer coding classes. Get them to
Yeah.
be members of, like Esther was talking, hackathon clubs that would prompt them to view the world differently, that when they
Mhm.
begin to see how other people are thinking of the little problems that we ignore around us, and see that, oh, this thing doesn't have to be this way, I can build a solution for it. That is how you raise creators and innovators. You don't raise them by keeping them in a classroom and teaching them mathematics and English. You raise them by throwing them right in the middle of the problem, and it's a sink or swim situation. You either come out
Mhm.
of it or you stay there. But I am here to
Mhm.
provide you with the guidance, to provide you with the resources and the opportunities that you need. So instead of hiding them and shying away, no, put them in the middle of it. To raise a child that is a creator and innovator, let them find a pain point and find that pain point early in life, so they begin to build. One thing that has been proven is that a child who begins to problem solve from when they're under 5 would most likely continue to do that till the end of their life. It's a skill,
Mhm.
right? Problem solving is a skill. So let them
Yeah.
develop it early enough. The skill to identify, the skill to prompt, the skill to think of a solution and then build the solution. It's greatly underrated. And that's why more recently, we are not seeing the sort of innovations that we want to see coming out of Africa. We seem to all be
Mhm.
consumers. Our businesses
Yeah.
are businesses that are built of innovations of other people. It's because we are letting our children come at the back. We're shielding them, protecting them. No, put them in the middle of the problem. Look at your environment. Think of, how can I do this? Recently, I was seeing that I think a student in Unilag developed an AI model that could translate, almost everything in the Nigerian languages that you have. So whether it's Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, or even the other ones that are not Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. So that is not a solution someone in America will not think of building something that can be translated in Nupe or in Efik or in Ibibio. But that's something that as a Nigerian child, you know that, oh, okay, there are people who will need this solution and I can do that. So put them in the heart of the problem and give them the skills, the tools, and the resources that they need to navigate it, and watch your children flourish. You know, make them mad, put them right there, and let them figure it out. It's the world they would have to live in, and they will be competing with people who have had to. I mean, one of the things that baffles me is you have children sitting in their classroom, they are given a maths equation on the board, and the child is
Mhm.
developing a Python code to answer that solution. I'm like, wait, hold on, that child is not lazy. That is really smart. The fact that you can
Genius.
think that, oh, I can code for myself to solve my
Mhm.
problem. Come on,
Mhm.
that's efficiency
Mhm.
and effectiveness. So give your children those
Yeah.
resources, give them those tools, and expose them to the problems and let them think of a way out of it by themselves.
Thank you so much. This has really been an enlightening session. We have seen that um, really we need to introduce our kids early. But one thing I didn't ask, is there a time? Is there a time that is too early for a child to be introduced to this tool? Who's going to answer this? Is there a time really that we should say it's too early? This is literally the topic of our discussion. We cannot leave this place without saying something around the time mark. Is there a time where it becomes too early for a child to? Sarah, you mentioned something about um, you know these concerns about disabilities and all. So should we? Is there a time limit? Basically, let us hear that from you, and from that we'll draw the
Hmm.
curtains.
Information overload is a real thing, right? For anything. So you don't unleash everything on your child like this. Age
Mm-hmm.
appropriate exposure. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think there is a too early to start, as long as the child has reached a stage of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
They can begin, but age appropriate exposure, so you don't just unleash everything on your child. And that is why the communities that Esther was talking about are very important, because when you go to these communities that are exposing children to tech, you see they are divided by age grades. There's a reason for that. Is because there's an age appropriate level to expose your child. So as a parent, don't unleash everything on your child. We need a whole webinar to talk about the specific tools, but what you should do is what is age appropriate for them. So if my child is less than 1, what can I expose them to at this age? Sometimes it may not even be a computer. It may be some of this. I'm seeing some really creative toys for children now that are
Yeah,
helping them solve problem
Lego
navigating.
and all
And
that.
I'm like,
Yeah.
literally teaching them how to stack. And the thing
Mhm.
with knowing how to place one block on another is that's the foundation for Python as a coding language. So, a child
Mhm.
is less than 1 and they can
Yeah.
already start learning how to look at the size, the shape, and fix those things. And then as they keep growing to ages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, age appropriate, exposure to AI, up until they get to a point where they are now navigating the terrain that you probably were like, just do your thing, well done, and everything. So we should be mindful of that. But definitely, there is no too early to start, but it can be too late to start. That's for sure.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Any final words from you, Esther, before we go? Any final words? Let's get the final word from you, Esther.
Okay, just in addition to what she said, children
Yeah.
differ, and it's very key to watch their curiosity level. So you think they don't know what they're
Mhm.
doing. But then my nephew picked my phone the other day and he was like, "Hey Siri, can you show me XYZ?" And I was surprised that they
Oh.
are already aware about this thing. So when you watch their curiosity, it can be a pointer that these people are quite interested in this. And then you can begin to
Mhm.
introduce, just like Sarah said, age appropriate information. There are some of these platforms, some of these exercise activities that have already been curated for several age ranges. You can begin to
Mhm.
introduce them to it gradually and watch how they pick up. So some learn really fast. For some, they may not pick up as fast as other children, but then watch their curiosity. You can give them certain problems, introduce them to certain platforms, and watch how fast they pick up, how interested they are in it, and then you can introduce them to it. Now, in conclusion, I'm going to say that just because it has not been embraced by everybody yet doesn't mean it hasn't come to stay. AI has come to stay, and our refusal is not going to stop anything. It's going to still meet the children anywhere they go to, in schools, in their interview platform, in their interview place, their workplaces. So it's better we let them have access to the right kind of information. We take them through a guided learning session. We let them know the importance of these things. And like Sarah also said earlier, expose them to it early. Let them begin to solve problems early. Let them begin to see beyond what they've always been doing within the four walls of the classroom. And that way you see that you're building a genius child. In addition to what is already in them, they can do even way better than you actually thought they can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I cannot thank you both enough. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much, Esther, as well, for making time to be here and sharing from your wealth of knowledge. It's been an absolute pleasure just listening to you, share from your wealth of knowledge. We're super honored, really, to have you both here. Thank you so, so much. So, guys, there you have it. AI is here to stay, and the earlier you introduce your child to these tools, the better. Having your child to become problem solvers, knowing age appropriate tools to introduce your child to, and knowing how to help your child leverage these tools on time will give them an edge. And we don't want our children to be left behind in this AI driven generation. So to keep them ahead of the competition, and then to keep them ahead of the game, we want to begin to introduce them early to these tools. So a big thank you once again to our guests. We're going to draw the curtains now. Thank you so much. If you want to follow, you want to get in touch with Sarah, you can follow her on Instagram. Sarah, should I give you a minute? How do we connect with you? How best would you want the audience to connect with you online?
Instagram, Sarah Yusuf One, or you can send me an email, sarah@kzenlearning.com, and I'm quite responsive, so that will be an easy way to contact me.
Amazing. Esther, how do we get in touch with you?
Okay, my name is Esther Ilesanmi with an underscore across social media platforms.
Thank you. So you want to reach out to them, connect with them, come on, they both are dishing out massive value on their pages. You want to connect with them and get inspired with what they're doing. Amazing job out there. Thank you so much once again for being a part of this discussion. We're super, super honored to have you. I'm going to let you go now. Thank you so, so very much, Sarah. Thank you. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much for joining our webinar tonight. It's an absolute pleasure to have you guys join in. Thank you so very much. Later on in the next month, we'll also be having another dose of these webinars, things that will spur your interest and all that. We also are looking forward to have training programs for our children coming August. So you just want to look out to on our pages on social media, and also you are updated with what we are doing. Also, if you're not a part of our community, you want to use the link that was sent to you alongside this flyer to be a part of our community, so that the moment we go live with any of our programs or our projects, you'll be able to see and be a part of it. So thank you once again for joining in tonight. We're super happy to have you. Do have a lovely evening.